Hi, welcome to our first show of Recovery Speaks. My name is Sandy Coyle, and I am a resident here in Exeter and absolutely love living in the Seacoast region of New Hampshire. I am a dedicated mom to a beautiful 9-year-old boy. I am a passionate employee at the United Way of Greater Seacoast, working in substance misuse prevention and public health networks here in the Greater Seacoast. I'm also a woman in long-term and successful recovery from alcoholism and other drug addiction. For me, that means I haven't picked up a drink or a drug in over 10 years. It's given me a life second to none. I'm able to be an active mom. I'm a reliable member in my family that my mom and my brother rely on and feel proud of. And I live a life that's rooted in moral values that I'm able to uphold to today because alcohol and drugs aren't stripping those choices away from me. Alcoholism and drug addiction is a cunning, baffling, and powerful disease. It rips through families, it costs communities lots of resources, often heartache, and it's hard to see from the outside. It often looks like a choice that somebody's making or behavior that's just unexplainable and out of the norm. And a lot of people find themselves saying, why doesn't that person just do differently? And yet, addiction is a disease of the mind, and it is something that is preventable, it's treatable, and people do recover. Our Recovery Speaks show is a great opportunity for a number of reasons. We're going to talk real deal about substance use disorders. We're going to hear from special guests who have been affected by addiction with loved ones or have experienced addiction in their own lives and have found their experience to be a source of hope and experience that can help others. I have special guests on this show who are going to share their message of hope with us and recovery, hoping that it ignites a spark in you to learn more about it, to maybe be compassionate towards someone who's struggling or has been affected by addiction, and maybe reach out to someone that you know may be struggling, or reach out for help for yourself if this is something that may be affecting your own life. What I hope to do with this show is bring substance use disorders out of the shadows and to shed light on this so we can feel less intimidated by it. We know that there's hope. We know that people can recover. We know why it's important to bring prevention to youth that have a choice about the pathway that they take in their own lives. We have a very special guest today for our first show. I'm thrilled to have him. He's a dear friend of mine, Chucky Rosa. Chucky's a father, a prevention activist here in the state, and lives in the Seacoast. And he has a charitable organization called Chucky's Fight. Chucky's Fight reaches teens through schools with presentations, and it asks kids to make a pledge for making healthy choices for themselves. Chucky's Fight reaches teens throughout this state by having presentations in schools and asking them to make pledges for healthy choices for themselves, staying away from drugs, being good peers, and staying active in positive activities. So I'm happy to bring on my guest, Chucky Rosa.
How you doing, Sandy?
Hi, Chucky.
What's up?
Nice to see you.
How you doing, dear?
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Right here.
Yeah, have a seat. Thank you.
You bet.
Middle. Thanks for joining us today. And this is my first show, so I asked you here for a good reason, because you are such a good speaker and you have such a great presentation that I'm hoping you make my first interview look better than how I can make it look.
You're a sweetheart. Thanks for having me.
So, Chucky, you have gotten a lot of positive attention through the media, and the New Hampshire Chronicle actually featured you and Chucky's fight. And before we start, I'd love to show a little clip of that. So we'll go to the Chronicle clip now.
Tonight on Chronicle.
The water's right around 38 right now, and feels pretty good. It's good for me.
He dives into the ocean every day just to make a point.
Down here at the bay in Hampton, it says it's 15 degrees, and I think it's, I don't know, it says it's -2 or something out. It's very snowy.
Chucky's fight, making waves in the war against drug abuse.
In my own small, quiet way, I feel good that I am making a difference. Sometimes I visualize that it's sunny out and it's nice out, and I walk down and I bless myself and I go in. It mentally does me a world of good. The coldest it was so far this year was, I think, 3 degrees, and the wind chill was -17.
This is a daily routine for Seabrook resident Chucky Rosa.
The water's right around 38 right now, and feels pretty good. It's good for me.
Each morning, he hops in the car for a short ride to the beach.
He'll wait.
No matter what the weather, he comes here to jump in the water, recording the moment as a sort of inspiration.
Hey, good morning. This is Chucky Rosa reporting from Seabrook Beach. It's March 24th. The temperature is 40 degrees, the wind chill is 31, and the water temperature is 38.
If you're wondering why anyone would do this, we did too.
Okay, so Chucky, you've been working in the Seacoast and across New Hampshire for quite some time now. You bring presentations into schools. You have touched thousands of lives in a really powerful and special way. I know a lot about you, and I've had the privilege of seeing you present in schools. And I know the passion that you bring to your work. I mentioned earlier in my introduction that you ask kids to make a pledge.
Yeah.
And you yourself have made a pledge that you've committed to 365 days of the year.
Yeah.
And I'd love for you to share a little bit about what that is and what inspires you to do that every day.
Okay. Well, I pledge to stay clean and sober, because I won't go to the schools and ask the students or anybody to make a commitment like that if I'm not doing the same thing myself. So what I do is every morning I go down to the beach, and no matter what the temperature is, and I go down to the ocean, and my sons Dominic and Vincent's ashes are in the ocean. When they passed away, we put their ashes in the ocean, and I would go down daily to say a prayer, and I'd jump in the ocean to try to be closer to them. And I just kept doing it, you know, through September, October, November, and then through the winter. And I've been doing it for several years, and I haven't missed a day in years. And it helps keep me clean and sober, and helps me reconnect with my sons to ask them for the strength to get through the day clean and sober, and to give me the strength and the courage and the wisdom to try to make a difference with these people out in the street that are struggling with substance abuse. And when I do the presentations, to let the kids know that, or the young adults I call them, know that it's okay not to use drugs. It will brings nothing to the table. And if they make a pledge to stay clean and sober after I do my presentation, and we ask a lot of questions and answers, they make a pledge to be good people and stay off of drugs and alcohol no matter what. And they get a dog tag, which they can put in their pocket, or they can wear it. A lot of the girls tell me they put them on their mirrors, and it's to remind them to make healthy choices and to be the good people that they can be. And we've given out probably close to somewhere around 40, 50,000 of them the past several years. Yeah.
It's great. It's really a commitment that you've made, and you have a website which we'll include the link for, and you record your going into the ocean, so that's available for people to see on your website.
Yeah.
You also open that as a way to raise funds for your program, so you can go into these schools without costing them much, because I know it's most important to you that you get your message out.
Yeah.
So, and you've also opened your morning jump in the ocean to other people. So, how do other people get involved, and what's the significance of that?
They can just go to the website and get the email address. It's chuckysfight@gmail, and make a date, and we make a time, and they come in, and they ask their friends or their co-workers to donate some funds, so that a lot of the schools and a lot of the institutions that we go to don't have the minimal funding for the presentation to pay for the dog tags and sometimes the t-shirts, but we use that money to buy this stuff. I was at a place, a treatment center last week, and I maybe shouldn't mention the name, but it's like 50 guys. It's a holding facility for people that are just getting out of jail, looking for somewhere to go. Some of them are going back to jail, some of them are homeless, but went in there, and I've been going in there for several years, and it's a lot of dark energy when you go in there, but by the time we leave, give them a shirt and a tag, it makes a huge difference, and I wouldn't be able to do that without the support of others, the people that come in. Some people come in on their dates of their sobriety. I had a kid about a week ago come in that was celebrating his 2 years sobriety from heroin, and he picked a tough day. It was 27 degrees below zero that day, and he did it, and felt good about it. He said, if I can do that, I can stay off of this stuff. Sometimes the schools come in, small groups from the schools I go to will come in and raise money. And some people that are just struggling in general to try to get them jump-started to their sobriety will come in. So we have all kinds. We usually have a couple of people a week. Most of the days I'm by myself down there at about 5 in the morning, and but it's good, and I'm thankful for all the people that do come in. But if anybody who's game enough to come in, call and make a date. We'd love to have you.
It's a great workplace activity to do with your coworkers, or social networks that you have. Health classes. Schools have joined Chucky jumping into the ocean. So we are up in New Hampshire here. Maybe picking the summer months. That would probably be my time, but it's a great opportunity, and just a way to really feel that life just coursing through your veins, right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you are clean and sober,
Yeah.
and I appreciate you sharing that with us. And a big part of the reason for this show, Recovery Speaks, is to get the face and voice of recovery out to the broader public. There's so much stigma around addiction, and unfortunately, we see so much about addiction through negative headlines. You know, New Hampshire's experiencing quite a crisis around heroin right now. Over the last couple months, we are at a trend of losing one person every 2 days in the state of New Hampshire. That's a really devastating statistic, and one that I'm motivated and inspired to change, to reach out to people's lives and let people know that there is hope beyond active addiction. Substance use disorders can have a positive message, and there's a lot of people that have walked through the pains of active addiction and have found their experience as a source of strength to reach out to others and help bring them into recovery and live full and meaningful lives. So helping to reduce the stigma around addiction and recovery and let people know there is a brighter side. Unfortunately, active addiction had a really devastating effect on you and your family. And that's what's brought about this message and your calling to reach teens and to reach communities. Can you share a little bit about your family's experience?
Yeah, well, I'm a father of 6, but I only have four now with us here on this planet. I lost my 2 oldest sons, Dominic and Vincent, due to accidental drug overdoses. I almost lost a 3rd son. His name is Charles, but he's been clean and sober for over 6 years, and he's a professional fighter out of Florida. And I have 3 more that I don't worry about at all, because unfortunately they watched their heroes get put into a pine box when they were very young, and they've been, I guess, traumatized by it. And my message is you don't have to live through something like that to get the message. So I go to schools and talk about what drugs and alcohol has done to my family and to myself. As a parent, I don't think I was very educated, and my boys weren't educated. They would play the game that I played for years of being good for a few months and then saying, well, I know I can do it, and then they try to have a little something, which turned into a lot of something, which is the way we're wired. We always want to feel better. But I won't get into that right now. But my son Vincent passed away the first time he tried something. He was at a party, and somebody offered him some fentanyl, which is a type of a morphine they give to, excuse me, to cancer patients. And he tried it, and to fast forward a little bit, his friends thought that he was going to sleep because he was nodding off, and then someone said he looked like he was turning blue or something. They called the EMTs, and he was overdosing, and I got a phone call about 2 in the morning to say that he was unresponsive, and I wasn't sure what that meant. I thought that he had been in a car accident. When I went to the Salem Hospital, again, to fast forward a little bit, I got into this room, and he was on a table about this high, quite a bit longer, with his arms folded, and the lady that was in there was just sitting there. I asked her 3 times, how was he doing, and she just staring at me, and she said, well, the 3rd time she said he's not. She said he's dead, and I didn't believe them. I went over and I shook him for what seemed like 5 minutes, but it was probably 5 seconds, and told him to wake up. You can't do this. It was surreal, and he broke my heart that day. But I thought that maybe, I try to find something positive with everything. I said, well, you know, maybe God took the wrong guy. I know at least Dominic will be okay, because Dominic was struggling also, on and off. He'd be good for 6 months, and then he'd relapse. But 10 months later, I got a phone call from the Winchester Hospital that, and Dominic had been doing really well too, but he decided to have go out with a couple of his friends. Offered him to go out, and he made the mistake of using, and his body was not used to it, and he overdosed and died. And my third son, Charles, went from being kid brother to the oldest of the family, and he didn't know how to handle it, I guess, and he wasn't doing very well either, but he finally got some treatment after a couple of failed attempts. He started listening and got his life back, and he's doing really well. He's in the highest fights with the top guys in the world in the UFC. He actually fought this weekend and won at the Boston Garden. I don't think they call it that anymore, but that's where it was, in Boston. And thank God he's doing well. He does a lot of charity work in Florida, where he lives, goes to the hospitals and helps a lot of people down there that are struggling. Big recovery community down there. But you know, my older two sons, I think that they stubborned themselves into an early grave. They kept trying to fight with something that eventually is going to take you some way or another. You may not end up dead, but something negative is going to happen. And I tell the kids, you know, don't fight the fight unless you want to get hit, because something's going to happen. You might end up just saying something to hurt somebody's feelings that you wouldn't have said, or you might back into somebody, or wake up a little bit sick, or worst case scenario, you do it long enough. My girl Mary just buried her brother this year, and he was only 49 years old from he drank himself to death. He's a good boy too, hard worker. I mean, I could tell you stories all day long, but so I try to tell them to be abstinent. And the story with my son Vincent, it was the first time. So sometimes parents will say, "Oh well, you know, they're going to try it. You know, you can expect that." And I don't agree with that, because you try something the first time, it can kill you. So I pushed for the abstinence. There's no reason to try something. I try to tell them this stuff is poison, which is what it is. Drugs are a lot stronger these days, and I feel like I'm talking too much. So
no, it's a tragic loss, and and I know that unfortunately your sons aren't here with us today, but there's often times that I stand in a room with you and I feel like their spirits are helping to guide us. And,
right. Like right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I appreciate that this loss has turned into a source of light for our communities.
Yeah.
And
a lot of people say that.
I commend you for your courage and your strength and your dedication to help other kids in our communities realize that when we talk about alcohol and other drugs, any other drugs, it's playing with fire. I appreciate you saying that it only takes one time. And we don't know when that one time's going to be. We don't know what that one time, who it's going to affect, but we're playing with fire. You know, when we talk about the disease of addiction and of alcoholism, unfortunately, it's not something there's any CAT scan for, or there's any blood work that we could do to send out and say who has it, right? But if I stand next to my brother who doesn't have this disease of addiction and alcoholism, you know, when I put a substance, alcohol or any other drug into my body, my brain is going to react a lot differently than my brother's brain would, or somebody who doesn't have the disease of alcoholism and addiction. And right now there's no way we can tell who's going to have it and who's not. But regardless, it's really playing with fire. We want to get that message across that there's too much of life to live, that picking up a drink or a drug is not worth the risk. So your prevention program is working to help knock out substance abuse.
Right.
It's on your shirt,
Yeah.
and it's part of the pledge. And you know, I appreciate you reaching teens with your message. And I've seen a lot of the testimonials about the success and the impact that it has. What have you felt kind of most touched by in some of the feedback that you've gotten because of your program?
I'm just blessed to be able to get into these places and have the audience that I have, but I think you give me more credit than I'm due, because I do it as much for myself as I do for the kids. It helps keep me doing the right thing. They motivate me by hearing their testimonials, sometimes saying that they didn't realize the choices that they make affect their family, their little brothers and sisters and stuff like that. And I had one pretty recently said that he, after the presentation, he went home and he threw away his bong, which is an instrument to smoke marijuana, and he said it was the first time that he had had a sober weekend in 3 years. So, at least it's a start, and I'm blessed to be able to. I was afraid to speak in front of anybody. I used to pray that the teacher wouldn't pick on me in school, even if I thought I knew the answer. But I don't want to sound creepy, but I get the strength from my sons. I get up in front of a lot of people I don't know pretty regularly, and say what I say and answer their questions as candidly as I can. And I feel like we're making a difference. We also spend a lot of time. People call us looking for help, and is it all right if I talk about that? You call looking for treatment. They want to try to change their lives, and they call up, and a lot of people don't have insurance and have no money, and sometimes I feel like a little bit of a klutz, because there's not a lot of treatment in New Hampshire. It's a tough place to be sick with substance abuse, but we've got some people up to treatment up in a couple of places in Maine that I have some connections with, and we recently got a couple of girls to Florida, Boca Raton, where it's a big recovery community, and by the grace of God, we got some scholarships, and some positive things happen, but sometimes it's up to the person, needless to say. I spent the whole day with someone the other day that said that he hadn't used heroin since Monday. I spent all day with him, got him up to a place in Maine where I got him a bed, and didn't work out. He had 5 other drugs in his system, and I had to try to bring him to a hospital to get detox, and they wouldn't take him, and he ended up at a homeless shelter. And tomorrow I'm supposed to try to get him up there again. But sometimes there's some really good success stories, and I have to focus on the small miracles that do happen almost every day. But I always say it's not a fight that you want to fight for anybody, the kids that are watching. And and as far as with the way our brain works, I believe that we're all born with some sort of addiction issue. It might temporarily make you feel good, but it's a slippery slope. Without going into a lecture, that's all I'm going to say. If you haven't tried it, don't. And if you have, get it together before it's too late. You can trust me on that one.
Words of wisdom.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I consider this show and this time sharing with you and getting your message out to more people part of the tiny miracles of my day. So
thank you.
I want to thank you again for
thank you,
being
Cindy.
here, and
Thanks for having me.
thank you.
All right.
I look forward to bringing more Recovery Speaks shows to you. I hope this has been a positive message of hope for you. Maybe ignites a place in your heart to affect some change. There is information available for Chucky's Fight. I encourage everyone to take a look at it and see how you can get involved, or see what resources are available in your community. So again, Thanks for joining us today, and stay tuned for more.